Okay, so now that we've finished the nozzle on the end of our pipe here, the next thing I want to do is cut the port where the our hopper will mount to, that will feed the injection module with plastic beads. Now the position of this port is actually quite important. Obviously it needs to be above your heater bands. I'm running 3 heater bands as well. That's the plan. I've certainly ordered 3 heater bands that obviously go down this end, if you can see there. You go down this end here. There we go, shocking camera work. Okay, 3 heater bands that go down here that are around 45 millimeters in width. So the port has to obviously be above that point. The second thing that's going to determine the location of your the port, if you can imagine inside here you've got your piston travelling up and down, pushing the plastic in. Now when the piston is in its full up position, obviously it needs to clear the top of this injection port, filler port we'll call it here, to allow plastic in. But then as it travels down, the idea is that it actually blocks off the flow of that plastic, and then as it travels down to inject, all the way up to its full stroke, the top of the piston needs to remain above the opening point of this filler port. Okay, the reason for that is obviously if your piston comes down and goes below this hole, obviously what's going to happen then is you're going to get plastic beads go on top of your piston, and then as the piston comes back up, those beads will go back up the top, and then the same thing will happen as you go up and down, and it won't be too long before you've got a whole pile of plastic on top of your piston, which will then restrict its upstroke and jam, and you'll have to pull the whole thing apart, and it'll be a complete pain in the ass. So this is what I'm going to do here. Now typically what I would normally do is maybe drill a couple of holes in here, maybe make some cuts with the angle grinder and a fine wheel, and finish it off with the rotary burr. But I did get in the mail the other day, I ordered just cheap off eBay some end mills. This is an 8mm one. I think I got a total of 5, ranging from 2.5mm up to 8mm, including delivery for like $12 or something, or $13 off eBay, and they seem quite good. I gave it a go on just cleaning up the nozzle on the end of this, and it worked quite good on aluminium. Of course, this being steel, it's going to be a different matter, I think, so it'll be interesting to see whether often side pressure on here will cause the arbor to drop out of the collar up here. So it'll be interesting to see how this handles. So I've just got it on a fairly low speed, and I'll use plenty of lube on that, and I'm going to try and work my way up and down and so such to see if I can get it to mill out this. Now I've got it at an angle because I thought it would make, you know, if it's angled down it would help the flow of the plastic. So let's see how we go, eh? Alright, so it is working, as you can see there. bit of a slow process. Let's actually chip the point off that. That's what you get for cheap tools. But I think what I'll do, I'll still drill that out, I think, with it, and some drills, and maybe finish it off with the mill. It might be the better option. Yeah. Alright, so I've reset that up with the drill bit. It was working with the mill, but it was just slow, and you know, why make more work for myself and for the drill press when you can do it easier with a drill bit. So what I've also done here, just to make it a bit easier, because we are working on an angle, I've just run the angle grinder in and taken some slices out to give me some flat working surface there, and we'll run that through, probably 2 each side here or something like that, and then maybe finish it off with that milling bit. See how we go with that, eh? Take you in a bit closer. Alright, so I'm not sure how much of that you missed. I didn't realise the camera had turned off, but that's pretty much done. It's good. I'm happy with that. In hindsight, I'd probably skip these milling attachments here when doing steel. It's much quicker just to drill it out with a drill bit and use the rotary burr. But it's a neat enough hole. Good enough size, I think. And right, so it's another step done. So we've got the top piece of our injection module in there. What I'm basically doing is going to be drilling some oversized holes to give us access to our air ports. Air ports, I don't know what the proper name for these things are. You know, where your adapter fits in here to connect your air hose. So I'll do them quite large, and I may actually end up with this piece, because as I've mentioned before, I do have some concerns because of the size of this injection module. I have some concerns over the weight, so I may end up just ripping up and down here with the angle grinder and a cutting blade, and just cutting a strip out of here, and maybe doing that you know, 3 or 4 times, just to reduce some of the weight on this piece. Obviously it's not required to be sealed in any way. Its only real purpose is to hold the air ram in place. So we'll set this up and then we'll get going. I suppose that's the thing about DIY, isn't it? Just make the best of what you got. Try and get the job done. Sharpen the bugger up. I had to stop a sec. Try that again. just going to make that a bit bigger, I think. I'm spot on with this top one. That one I probably went a bit high. Well, it'll probably still work, but like I said, I'm thinking I'm gonna cut a strip out. Alright, so I've just marked a couple of straight lines down there with a marker. And I'll run through there as straight as I can with the angle grinder. Enough. Alright, there we go. So it's slightly lighter. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I'll do one more that size on the other side. Alright, so I've just drilled a couple more large holes on the other side there. Some of that cutting fluid off. That's done now. That has made a considerable considerable difference to the weight, just taking that little bit out. Because we're looking for strength in this direction and not this direction, it's still got plenty of strength there. Obviously, as with always, all my stuff, it's not, it's not the neatest job. I'm certainly no Keith Fenner, that's for sure. And thanks to Keith, I don't know if he's ever going to see this, but thanks to him for the inspiration. I've watched hundreds of his videos and they're brilliant. But for me, the reason why I do these videos is because I think it's fantastic to see professionals do what they do professionally with their fully decked out workshops. But I think for the majority of us, the average guys, they might have a drill press, a vise, an angle grinder, and, a drill. I'm lucky to have a good compressor, but it's really just to show what you might achieve with just minimal tools. So there we go, so let's see how that fits. Alright, so it's almost right to the end. There we go. Right to the end, so ample access to those ports there. Just fine. And just a little bit lighter. I'm happy with that. So the next job is going to be I think the next job's going to probably be now to put the two halves of the injection module together. I've got to then figure out the hopper. Now I'm thinking what I'll probably do at this stage, although I won't really know until I figure out what materials I'm going to use, but I may weld an attachment onto here that the hopper can then screw to, but the hopper's going to come up quite large, maybe so high. I don't want it to be too weighty. I might have to brace or bracket it across the top here as well. In my mind, I'm thinking maybe aluminium or stainless steel sheet, bend it into a square funnel sort of a shape, and then a top half maybe of acrylic material. You can't see that, don't know why I'm pointing to it. Clear perspex or acrylic sheets, which I do have some of, just so that you can see in there. I also know that on the commercial models, one of the things they talk about is an important factor is to ensure that there's no moisture in your hopper or with your plastic beads, so you do get them with what are called dryer attachments. I'm not sure if that's going to be such a factor on something of this scale, but I have thought of possibly running something like a hairdryer or a heat gun plumbed into the hopper to take any moisture out, but that I'll worry about that sort of thing once the whole thing is together and operational. Right, so on to the next step.